Practice makes myelin, and myelin makes perfect. How have you been building your myelin this week? Hi everyone, it's Tasleem. Thanks for coming to my channel. If you don't know what I'm talking about here with myelin, go check out my last video, but I am still gonna recap it here because myelin is magical. So what is myelin? Myelin is an insulator that wraps around our neural circuits, the nerve fibers that actually are used when we are building on a skill, doing most things in our life, whether it's talking, walking, dancing, singing, cooking, whatever it is. But the more that we do this skill, especially in a deep way, like we're practicing it really deeply, we can build more myelin. And this insulator actually helps to protect whatever it is that we've learned or whatever skill that we've gained, so that the next time we do another dance practice or the next time that we, cook up another meal, we don't have to start from scratch as far as like, oh, as if you've never done it before. The myelin is what helps build the layers of learning. And the key to this is deep practice. If you really want to build more myelin, which helps you develop that skill, but also helps you strengthen your nervous system, deep practice is what's really important. And that quote that I shared with you earlier at the very start of the video is by an author named Daniel Coyle, which he is like, I'm just so excited about him because he's the one, like his writing actually showed me how powerful myelin is, not just because we already have it in our system, but because many practitioners, many doctors, many medical professionals out there were talking about how MS and other autoimmune conditions actually demyelinate your system. So they actually, like the myelin gets less and less when you have these conditions. And even when we age, we lose myelin. But Daniel Coyle talks about how actually we can rebuild that myelin and rebuild that ability to strengthen our nervous system and strengthen our skill building skills, our skill building development by deep practice. And this means that that whole idea of like, oh, I'm too old to do this, or I don't have the energy for this, or whatever, that's not actually necessarily true. We can actually rebuild that energy. We can rebuild those skills. We can rebuild, or even for the first time, build a coordination to play a musical instrument, or to maybe it's your first time to actually dance, and you can actually do that even at a later age. But the key is deep practice. So what does it mean to do deep practice? Deep practice means that you actually take some time to focus in and slow down. So slowing down is really important. This deep practice is best when you slow something down and you really focus in on a small portion of it, so that each time you do smaller portions, it adds up to bigger and bigger, and you're not just loosely practicing something. So I was talking in my last video about, like, if you're playing a song and on a musical instrument, you don't want to just practice that song all the way through and say, okay, I practice. What parts of it are you struggling on a little bit? Which parts of it are you feeling like you can't get to the next note quick enough, or that the rhythm is a little bit off? Just practice those bars and practice the skill that is required to make it a bit faster, or to get to that next note in a more rhythmical way or in the right timing. It's the same with dance. And the thing is, the more that we do this and focus in, the more actually our accuracy and speed quickens up. Like it's kind of counterintuitive, because you think, oh, I want to play through the whole song so I know it, and I only have this amount of time, so I'm going to do that. And focusing in on each part seems kind of a lot. Like it seems like it would take a lot of time, and then you miss out on the rest of it, and you've only practiced that little bit. But actually, myelin is such that when you practice a small portion and slow it down and really focus in, that's when the wrapping happens. That's when the wrapping of that circuitry happens, because now your system has taken it in detail. And when that wrapping happens, now that learning has really been like concretized, like it's more concrete in your system, and it remembers it. And then the next time you learn another part, the same thing happens, and it just builds and builds, and you can actually build more myelin. And this is huge, because that means that you are strengthening your immune system. You're protecting your nervous system with more myelin. That myelin sheath is a protector of our organs, of our nerve fibers. And so it's not just about skill building, but it's also about being able to live a better, more fuller life. And I couldn't help but to share this with people. I was so excited about this portion of, this video series, because to me, this makes a huge difference in the way that I approach anything. So I asked you, how are you building myelin this week? Well, what I have been doing is that I have been using it to practice a dance routine that I can't believe, in all the years of dancing, I've never learned. But Halloween is coming up, and I decided that I really wanted to learn the Thriller dance, like the Michael Jackson Thriller dance. And there's this amazing woman on YouTube. I'll try to share her link below this as well. Kat, her name is. I don't remember the last name, but I will share the link. And she breaks down in, 8 counts per section, how to do the Thriller dance. And I was like, okay, I'm having a bit of trouble coordinating my body. I have this weakness in my leg, but actually the Thriller dance is kind of perfect for it, because you're supposed to be a little bit off, and well, if you see the movements, or if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Like it's a little, it feels a little jarring in your system, like you should be a little bit off. And I don't want to say uncoordinated, but it's kind of, yeah, you're supposed to be like this monster kind of, like the way that I am walking right now kind of fits in with this Thriller dance. So I'm all over it, but it looks so much easier than it is. So when I started practicing it, I was like, okay, I tried to go from beginning to end, and I was like, I don't even know what I learned here, because my body isn't able to remember this. And then I remembered, wait, I'm building myelin. I got to focus in on a section. So I just took the first 8 counts, and it's like this crazy kind of walk with like using your head and your shoulder in part of the rhythm. And so I was practicing, making sure I got the right counts for that. And I could feel that my body was remembering it more when I slowed it down like that and focused in. And then I didn't feel so discouraged, and I was going on a little bit further. I only probably know like the first 2 8 counts, so like the first 16 counts, but I know that my body can wrap that learning. The myelin is wrapping around my learning, so that the next time I practice, it's not like I've never seen it before or that my body's like, oh, what is this? This is so new again. It's learned a little bit. And now I can add on to that. And hopefully, eventually, by the time Halloween comes, oh my God, it's only a few days away. Well, let's see how much I get through. But I will know way more than I did prior because I didn't know how to do any of it. And, for other examples in my life, like part of the reason that I want to do this is because I like to go to karaoke, I like to sing, and I'm trying out some Michael Jackson songs, which I love singing. And singing for me is like, there's certain aspects of singing, certain genres of music that I love. For example, rap. That I feel like when I show up doing a rap, it's like totally unexpected, and I'm not there yet in terms of like being comfortable doing it and getting the words quick enough and in the right rhythm and stuff. But again, I thought of myelin, and funny like that the myelin is wrapping around like to insulate, and I'm going to use myelin to wrap to help me learn how to wrap, because I've noticed like a couple of years ago I wanted to learn the song "Doo Wop" by Lauryn Hill. That thing, um, that song, "Doo Wop," and I couldn't for the life of me even do like one verse or even a part of the verse because it was so fast. I'm not used to rapping. And I was like, okay, I'll never get this. But sure enough, I started doing bit by bit. And the myelin, I'm sure, was rapping that, rapping that, pun intended here, rapping that learning as I went. Because now when I get up and do the Lauryn Hill doo-wop, I can do it a lot better. Like, I was gonna say pretty good, but I'm still a little rusty on the second verse, but it's so much better than it was before. And so lately I've been trying to do Eminem's Lose Yourself, which is quite tricky because it's too low for my voice, so I also have to raise the key and learn it in the new key. But I'm taking bit by bit by bit. And like I said, besides me wanting to learn how to rap, and besides me wanting to learn how to do the Thriller dance, on top of all this, I am helping my nervous system. I am building more myelin by practicing something deeply, by practicing something and slowing it down so that my nervous system, my nerve fibers can actually remember this and collect it and protect it with the myelin. And then the next bit of learning can be layered on top of that. This actually reminds me of something that someone told me recently about working out. He reminded me that our bodies don't know necessarily whether we're lifting like a 50-pound weight compared to like a 10-pound weight. What our bodies do know is that we're putting some tension in our bodies, and that tension helps our muscles to grow and to push a little further to what we didn't know that we could do. And the point in building myelin or practicing deeply is not to go so far to this extreme that is too challenging for you, like just to go to this point where it's a little bit more challenging so that you can build on top of what you already know. And it's like the same thing with the working out. It's like you don't want to, if you cannot even lift, 20 pounds, you don't want to necessarily go to 50 pounds right away. But if you know you can do a 10-pound weight and you want to challenge yourself a bit, like maybe you're going to go to 15 or something like that. And the thing is that when our bodies don't know, like, all we need to do is put a little bit of tension on it, and it doesn't know whether you're doing this small weight or this bigger amount of weight, then we can actually just think, okay, I am just building the myelin by challenging myself in something. So it doesn't really matter if, my rapping abilities in terms of singing is not perfect, but it's like if I've challenged myself enough, what I have learned, what my system has wrapped with the myelin in my nervous system has been remembered in my body, so that the next time I try something that maybe is equally rhythmically challenging, even if I don't perfect like Lose Yourself, the song, the next time my body will remember what I did to challenge it, to put a little bit of tension in it. My voice, my vocal cords will remember that. And the next time that I do something else that's similar, just like when I learned doo-wop, like maybe me challenging myself with doo-wop helps me to learn Lose Yourself a little bit easier. I hope that makes sense. Myelin is magical. I say go out and practice something that really inspires you. Take your time to do it, and you don't need a lot of time. That's something I really wanted to emphasize, is that the magic of the myelin building is that it teaches you that you don't have to have. I used to practice things for I thought working out and everything had to be like at least an hour and a half, singing, anything. But myelin teaches you actually it's better to do a really small practice that's really focused and you're really honing in on a skill than to just loosely practice something for a long time. So now everything I do, whether it's working out, singing, dance practice, I celebrate that, like, oh, I did it for 15 minutes. I'm not like, oh, I only did it for 15 minutes. It's like I did it for 15 minutes, and how I practice that is really important. If I practice deeply and focused and slow it down, that is probably equivalent or even better than me practicing for an hour and a half and not having a focus and not slowing things down, because now my body has wrapped this learning to a point where I can really build on that. Let me know what you are going to do this week for building myelin. What are you going to practice? How are you practicing focused? What are you slowing down? Can't wait to hear from you. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you all next time.